Hello everyone and welcome to another Marketing Showcase on demand session. These are the recordings from the live event we ran in September. Whether you managed to make it to the live show or you're watching this for the first time, welcome. Today I'm joined by Paul Sheffield and Will Wheeler from Grandad Digital, and they're going to be talking about how you can supercharge your website performance. It's a great talk, so sit back, relax and enjoy.
Hi, my name's Paul. I'm the Creative Director of Grandad Digital, and I'm joined today by Will Wheeler. So today we're going to take you through on how to supercharge your website. So what do we want to cover? Well, ultimately, we often find clients come to us with many different marketing challenges, okay? They're often asking the questions of, what are my users doing on my website? How are my users engaging with our website? What are they doing? Are they browsing? Are they buying? Are they purchasing, etc.? Things like that. Often also as well, they're putting their hair out with Google and Google Analytics. You know, they log in, it's changed, and you don't get the understanding of what is going on and how things work and what is the best way of making this your website perform better. You might be asking questions of what is a UTM? All of these sorts of things, and ultimately sometimes you might have been sold a piece of software that could be charged a lot of money per month, but do you need it? Do you need to have that thing to deliver the understanding of what is going on in your business? And that's what we're hopefully going to try and help you with today, to give you some takeaway tips on how to maximize the return on investment on your website and make it work better for you. At Grandad, we believe in going beyond the ordinary to deliver outstanding results for our clients. We center everything we do around your users and your business needs. And we believe in focusing our attentions around what your users need delivers outstanding digital results for your organization. And we also always try and deliver everything we do with a little bit of love. Today, I want to introduce you to our idea of a digital garden. And what is a digital garden? Well, we ultimately like to make websites easy to use and maybe easy to understand. And we believe the implementation of data and analytics should be easier and far less daunting for anybody, any marketeer to get up to speed with. And so that is ultimately where our digital analogy comes in. So let me take you through to a little world we have. There's two types of gardens, okay? There's one that's beautiful, optimized. It's delivering on its vision that was ultimately set out at the start. It's organized and it's clean and you understand where you need to go. The other, while weeds can be beautiful, the other has that potential, but it's becoming overgrown. It's become unorganized. It's become chaotic. And ultimately, in places, there might be bits dying off here and there. And it's not performing. It's not delivering on the results of what it needs to be doing. So let's take those thinking and we can apply that to your users. Your users in a beautiful, organized world, they're going to be excited. They're going to be inspired. They'll be adventurous to keep on browsing, to keep on engaging with your brand and its content. On the other side, they could be confused, they could be lost. Ultimately, they're uninterested, and that uninterested makes for them dropping off. Your bounce rate's going to go up, things like that. So you've got to look after them in the content. Now, we can then carry that through to their interactions and how they're engaging with the website. So if it's beautiful and organized, they're going to be engaged, they're going to be impressed, they'll be converting. Now that conversion could be across many different avenues, from whether you're an e-commerce business through and buying in a shop, or even just engaging with finding out your contact details so they can reach out and then complete that transaction offline. So those interaction patterns are key. The other side is if it's not beautiful, not engaged, those users are going to become frustrated. They're going to become annoyed, disheartened, and ultimately that really leads to them not coming back to shopping with you, visiting your site a second time. We can also apply the same idea to your content. If your content is relevant, it's continuous in its focus, that is going to drive continuous interactions from users and they'll keep coming back. But when it's not focused, when it's not delivering on those user behaviors, your content it's disheartening, it's boring, it's going to become hidden and your user once again will become disheartened with your website and they won't visit and they won't keep coming back. Finally, looking at your stakeholders. Stakeholders are really key. If they're engaged, and this is internal teams, if they're engaged, positive, they're going to become collaborative. They're going to help you out. They're going to look to be with you and supporting you on those new ideas, those new aspirations and visions you have for your website to drive interaction and drive conversion. But if they're not, ultimately they're disheartened, they're disconnected, and your decisions may become impulsive. They won't be as focused and organized as they could be. So that garden analogy we use to understand that relationship of how your website can grow and prosper. Ultimately, like gardens, websites do try to leave a lasting impression on their users. And you know, when you're walking past that nice house and it's got a beautiful garden, you're going to stop and stare. It's the same approach happens with websites. You might might receive a link from social, or you might do a search and you're impressed. That first impression you have sticks with you, and ultimately you then carry on browsing. Great gardens can create that dialogue. You know, often you might, you know, have a conversation with something about someone you've seen. That same pattern happens on websites. You see something you like and you share it on social. You share it within your teams through your communications channels, or just by email, or even just verbal. Ultimately, your website needs to scale with your business. If you are a small business, your website can be small and tailored around your offering. It doesn't need to be large, but then as the business grows, the size of the website will grow to facilitate it. And the best gardens ultimately provide happiness and memories. And obviously it's fair to say the bad ones don't. And the same applies for websites. And then as your garden takes time to grow, your website takes time to grow. It takes dedication, it takes love, it takes care, it takes attention. It's not just going to be amazing overnight. It needs to be planned, it needs to be considered. You need to also not stop when it goes live. So if you've gone through a new website process, ultimately that is when the work starts, and you need to nurture it and help it grow. And often that idea of starting again isn't appropriate. You know, we might not have the budget. It might be just too expensive to do. So actually making small changes, enhancing what you've got there, can make a big difference, much like a garden. So that ultimately, that idea we use, and you can also consider that about gardeners themselves. You know, a gardener is going to plan. They know what they're planting in the spring, and they know what they'll be harvesting in the autumn. They know that they'll take a cutting here and that will grow into a beautiful thing over there. So that planning is key. Plan. And ultimately those will make big changes as you go through. Well.
So thank you, Paul. So bringing it now into using that analogy into a process or a project plan, or whatever you want to call this. This is almost sort of your, let's get started on our next data analytics project. We're going to maintain this concept of the garden analogy where we can here to give you this idea of data and analytics is one of the many tools marketeers have to really understand their landscape, what they're working with, what are they trying to achieve, what are their users doing. So moving on to the actual processes themselves, what are they? Dead simple, there's three. So first, starting off with setting the vision and the research, then moving through to choosing the tools and techniques, and then moving into the final phase, monitor and grow. So let's start with setting the vision and research. What is that? You need to set yourself clear business goals. Those business goals aren't just about your website. They're talking about, why is your website here? Why does this exist? What is a correlation between you as a business and the website, and how does that join together? You then set the web goals that deliver on those business objectives. So make sure they are realistic. Don't go into a data analytics project expecting to change the world. Start small, using that garden analogy again. Establish your budgets and plan your projects. So very, very simple project management elements in there. Make sure you have an understanding of the costs. Costs come in many different ways when you start talking about data and analytics on your website. So get a good sort of clear picture of what those are now. I've talked a little bit about expectations. It's really key just to start small. I want to focus on this area of the site. I want to know exactly what's going on, because this is where we want to focus our attention over the next 6 months. Talk to your business, understand what's important to them and their customers. It's not just about marketing working in a silo to try and make fundamental changes, whereas actually those changes won't make wide-ranging impact across your colleagues and their teams. Moving on to the next stage, we're starting to think about our tools. And there are a vast array of tools available to marketers nowadays. You have the off-the-shelf solutions that claim to fix all of your problems and all of this kind of thing. There's a lot of tools out there, but based on the planning you've already done, you have a good idea of what those tools need to be and what you need to track, because you're starting small, you're focusing on that one area. It could be a Google Analytics, Google Tag Manager combo. It could be a screen reader. Whatever those are, list them out, start the research now. Figure out how you're going to implement it. So everything in digital, whilst I'd like to say it never requires a dev involvement, it often does, okay? So start having that consideration of the implementation plan. And then who's going to actually do work? Who's going to carry it through? Maybe you're limited for time. Is there a colleague that can drive this project plan forward? And then I've mentioned costs again here. Why have I done that? Because at this stage, you've now got an idea. These are the tools we want. This is how we're going to do it. You now know how much those tools are going to cost. Maybe you need costs from your agencies. Do you have the access you need? So really vital. Do you have access to GA? Do you have access to this tool? Do you have access to your website even sometimes? And then once you're kind of at that point, figure out and take a step back, see if this is the best way of doing this. Just do that little assessment in your mind as a team. Is this the best way that we're going to get the results that we're looking for? And then lastly, how can we display the success? So any data and analytics projects rely on displaying the success internally, externally, to stakeholders, to sponsors, whatever it might be. Figure out how you're going to display it. Now, finally, once we're past this point, we move into the monitor and grow phase. The monitor and grow phase is all about, once your project has been implementing, just keep monitoring those statistics. User behavior changes, and especially with sort of the pandemic, users are becoming far more online orientated. You're getting far more users on the web than you ever had before. So you're going to start to notice patterns that are very different over time. So keep that constant monitoring in mind. Make small changes. Let's say you spot a trend. Maybe your LinkedIn posts are leading to more conversions at night than they are in the morning. Try a few days of that week doing more online LinkedIn posts in the evening, but make it small, make it considered. Don't rush into quick decisions. Now, this is in digital and communications, we have to move quickly, but we have to do those decisions with consideration and with the research and insight you've already gained. Don't ignore them, and don't let the business pressure you into making decisions when you don't have the data and the analytics to prove that it's the right decision. Note the key learnings and document them. Absolutely vital when you're starting to transition to your next project, that you're learning about all of the processes and research you've already done. Don't just start again for your next one. And again, share your successes and mention. So this is part of what Paul was mentioning around getting your stakeholders on board, making them collaborative. If the rest of the organization understands that a data and analytics project is giving them so much more insight into what their users are doing, their trends, what they like, what they don't like, you'll start to get a much more collaborative experience, this idea of ideation within the organization, generating ideas and assumptions for the next one. Okay, and then we move on to a case study of where this process has been employed for one of our clients, ACS, and I'm going to hand back to Paul.
Thanks, Paul. So we wanted to share some of the ideas and the process we went through with working with ACS. They are an international school. They 4 distinct schools within, 3 of them around the Surrey area and 1 overseas. So there's some really interesting challenges on how to attract, ultimately convert users, visitors, customers, parents, ultimately children and pupils to their schools within that quite similar local demographic around Surrey. So from that idea of a large central marketing team, how can they communicate? Now, we've been working with them for many years, worked the website, and they came to us with this problem of understanding, trying to get the understanding of what are their users were doing across their landing pages and their open pages and stuff like that. They were spending a lot on SEO and PPC, and those pages weren't delivering. They weren't delivering what the business expected them to be delivering and converting to. So through a process of working with workshops and understanding those user needs, we were able to roll out our ideas within what we've been covering today and see those changes come through.
So let's look at the process we followed for ACS. Okay, so we start again with this vision and research being the first step. So we were starting to break down those barriers between departments. Often departments don't want to talk to each other, and there's often this sort of fear, especially in the larger organizations, of just having a chat about some ideas. And this is precisely what data and analytics is about. It's ideas. What do we think is happening? What's our assumption? What do we think our users are doing? So we started to break down those departments to share that information with marketing. We researched the core business value proposition, in this case, open days. What is it that we're trying to offer the user, and what is required to get that user engaged and involved and ultimately convert for that open day? We broadened our knowledge. We looked at our competitors that we were going up against. What are other private schools doing? What are other industries doing in terms of sort of this idea of a session on site to see the service and values in action? What are they doing? Are they doing anything clever? Understood the core user groups. Who attends these open days? Why are they attending them? What makes them feel that an open day is a better decision than just having a conversation over the phone? Try to really get a broad understanding of those. Define the clear objectives for improvements. What are we doing here with this data analytics project? We're trying to improve the conversion rate for the traffic that we are getting for this site in this particular area. Spoke to the stakeholders to establish their vision, and we managed to together bridge the departments together and create this shared idea and mentality of this data and analytics project is going to give us so much more information. We can look to make changes and improvements, change business processes, change the way that we ask questions and what those questions are, to see if we can get more people through the door, to show them how amazing our schools are. And then we move through to the tools and techniques that we use for ACS. Very, very simple, okay? Actually quite complicated forms in terms of the amount of questions and things, but actually very, very simple implementation. Google Analytics with Tag Manager, the sort of golden standard for most marketeers. We displayed all of these results through Data Studio. So in the past, the marketing team was spending hours every month sharing the data with each of the different heads of school. It took time. Data Studio was just a better choice. It also gave us the benefit of showing much more data than they didn't have time to show before. So what user devices are the users using? What geographical location are they coming from? All of these different things we could show in an online dashboard that really gave ACS that insight as an organization. And the beauty of it is, it's available to anyone, anywhere, anytime. They have the ability to play with that data, almost like bringing in some of those business information concepts that some of the larger organizations have. We drilled down in detail to each of the core interactions. So regardless of what the user was doing on that page, we were getting clear metrics back. Every time they took a step forward or a step back, we would be knowing about it and we'd be tracking it. We kept the implementation simple to grow maturity across the business. And what I mean by that is not all organizations are going to understand Tag Manager, Google Analytics, Data Studio. These are all quite large concepts. We then boil it down to the actual metrics that we're trying to capture: unique page views, bounce rates. You need, as a marketeer, to communicate these concepts in a way that doesn't overwhelm people. You want to take them on a journey, and that journey could be a long one. But taking that simple approach with that idea of growing the maturity within the business was really key. And then we start to look at the results in our grow and monitor phase for ACS. And we started to have some new processes with them that we didn't have before. Monthly sit down to discuss new ideas. This is across department. What do you think that we should be doing? What do you think's happening based on the data and statistics that we have captured? So we're starting to come up with concepts and hypotheses that we can use for the next series of improvements or changes they want to make. Really, other cool part that's happened out of this is the business is now respecting the existing elements across the rest of the website to actually say, we don't want to make a change anymore without tracking this. So we don't have that. If we don't have that data, I'm not willing to put my idea forward. And that's a fantastic way to be thinking online nowadays. Efficiency between teams and sharing results, and the business now understands what data analytics is about and why marketing wanted to do this. Continuous small changes leading to big results. So that PPC spend has gone down, the conversion has gone up. And that means, quite simply, the ROI is just going to improve. This wasn't a big project, it wasn't a big budget by any description, but what it's allowed them to do is really start to realize and focus on that ROI, because they can see the PPC going in and the results it's now delivering to the business much more clearly. They're confident with the learnings. They're now using them across the rest of the site. They are stronger as a team with greater informed decision making, and that's all based around data. So they're making their next decision based on what the users are doing. The rest of the website is starting to get influenced by change. So again, that idea of the garden analogy coming back in is if you make a small change over here, it can actually have a big impact on its surrounding plants and areas. Okay, that kind of covers the process we did with ACS. We'll now hand back and sort of just run through a quick recap of everything we've covered. Starting small and grow from there. Data analytics has a lot involved to it. You've got to do a lot of the stakeholder engagement, a lot of research, you've got to understand your tools, you've got to know how to implement it, and then you've got to understand what, once it's implemented, what those statistics actually mean. So take your time. Monitoring and sharing ideas is key. Don't work in isolation about this. Sometimes other departments have nuggets of information you can use that are incredibly valuable and could dictate the shape of your project. Start small and grow. I've mentioned that already. But also sort of remember that research and training is key. Don't be afraid to outsource the skills if you don't have them. There's many agencies available to you in the UK. Engage with them, but make sure that you go to them with a very clear brief of what it is that you're trying to know about your website, and they'll be able to help you. Don't just go, I want tag manager setup. That doesn't answer anything. Understand your vision to deliver success and maintain it. So have that picture in your mind of what this perfect garden is going to look like and what your website's going to want to look like. But lastly, don't be tricked into expecting an off-the-shelf solution to answer everything that you need to know about your website. And we play around with a lot of tools that become available to marketers. We do a lot of trials of these products. What they do have is a lot of great features and a lot of great functionality, but what they don't have is a tailored approach to your business and your organization. Thank you. So that was our talk. We'll now hand over for any questions.
Thanks very much, Will, and thanks, Paul. Thanks for taking the time to talk to our visitors today. As I said at the start, loads of great stuff to do with data and analytics. I'm sure if they had a pencil to hand, they have no lead in it left now. Can either of you give me your opinion on the best place to start?
So best place to start with any data analytics project is start with the most important thing that you need to worry about on your site. So if blogging is one of your key user flows to get conversion, focus on your blogs first, for instance. Try to tackle an area which is going to create the most impact with the results that you're going to capture. You want to be able to get your stakeholders on early. A lot of the projects that we often see happening and fail are the ones that are focusing on really small areas of the site that are never really going to be of much interest to the rest of the business. So keep it focused on the areas that really matter.
Great, brilliant. Thanks very much for that, Paul and Will. Thanks for your time and going back through that. I'm sure our visitors gained a lot from that. I'm just going to do a bit of a shameless plug here. We run these webinars monthly. So if you're watching this and thinking, yes, I do want more from these guys, our next event is on the 13th of October. Then we're running one in the middle of November and at the start of December. So please do join us for more marketing madness and education. Thanks very much, guys. That's me signing off.
Thanks, Ash.
Thank you.